Hi, this is Tim at the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. We're waking up with watches and everything is for sale. We're starting off with a heavy hitter from Audemars Piguet. This is the 2017 200-piece limited edition Royal Oak QE2 Cup. So the QE2 Cup actually sounds like something that might be associated with a British ship. It's actually an American thoroughbred horse racing series. Audemars Piguet has done a number of special editions dedicated to its involvement with the QE2 Cup, and this might be the best of them all. Technically part of the 15400 generation of Royal Oaks. This is actually a unique reference, 15403 IP. IP, for those who are AP savvy, means a combination of platinum and grade 5 titanium, and this has the best of both. Everything that's high polished is platinum. Everything that is satinated is titanium, and then you can see the white gold bezel bolts are a little bit warmer than the ultra white of the polished platinum bezel. We have the Grande Tapisserie dial, which is the medium hobnail, still pantograph cut with white gold logo, hands, and indices. The watch does feature a reasonable amount of lume. No issues on that front. The bracelet's unusual because every single link is removable. Normally on a Royal Oak, you're going to have a couple of links removable by screws. Well, here, everything's fixed by bars because of the unusual combination of platinum and titanium. So you will need a block and punch to size this. But on the other hand, every link is removable, which makes this perhaps the most sizable Royal Oak bracelet ever. You got a double fold deployment clasp here, 1-2 sequential twin trigger release, very secure, screw down crown, hexagonal like the bezel bolts, 50-meter water resistance with a screw down means you can surface swim this. Flip it all over. We've got the coats of arms of the Audemars and Piguet family on the 22-karat rotor, reminding you that AP is the oldest continuously family-owned and run Swiss watchmaker since 1875. 60-hour reserve, hacking, and quick set. You can see a full balance bridge with the Jaramax-style free-sprung balance, 40 jewels, nicely executed, but the finishing is all external here. Gerald Genta's masterpiece rendered in an uncommon combination of materials. In its way, you could almost call it two-tone. It's certainly bimetallic. And a rarity with only 200 made. They rarely come to market, so a very special watch on that front. It normally takes about 9 to 11 hours to finish the bracelet and all its parts. I would imagine solidly on the upper end of that time scale for this one. But let's say you don't quite have platinum and titanium budgets. How about yellow gold? One of the most unexpected watches of 2021, this is the Tudor Black Bay 58 18 karat. Now I'm going to come out and say Tudor could not have done a watch like this 10 years ago. At the time, it was attempting to re-establish itself after a long period of absence from, among others, the American market. But Tudor saw the writing on the wall for its one-time entry-level image back in 2021 when it launched an all-gold Black Bay 58, and that's what we have here in 18-karat yellow gold. Today, Tudor is a collection theme unto itself, not necessarily a stepping stone to Rolex. The watch, 39 millimeters in diameter. It's all satin finished, which is good taste for a gold watch. Polish here would be a little bit blinding and perhaps too brash for the utilitarian image of the Black Bay. Black Bay 58 means smaller and thinner. Without the strap across the case back, 12.9 millimeters, 47.7 lug to lug. We have a bubble-like sapphire similar to a vintage plexi and Tudor snowflake-style hands. We have a gilt-style chapter ring, no-date dial. The bezel is a very chunky and vocal 60 click with a super tactile micro knurling that makes it a pleasure to operate. Can't see much of the movement, and for me that's okay. You can see MT 5400. Critically, Tudor created its own movement series for the 58, binning the 5600 of the larger Black Bays and Pelagos. It created one that's thinner and smaller, but with all the same advantages. Anti-magnetic silicone hairspring, chronometer certified, 70-hour power reserve. Now we have a strap here that is NATO-like, but not itself a NATO. Note the beautiful finishing of the hardware, also in yellow gold. We're even getting a little bit of a Bascuriale sort of tarnish here, a wonderful kind of patina that you find on yellow gold over time. Remember, yellow gold is 18 karat. It is not pure gold, which is why it's possible for some of the constituent metals to tarnish a little bit, just like sterling silver, which is 6% copper. Now, you can see how beautifully this wears on a 16-centimeter circumference wrist. I'm going to bring back the AP so you can get a good sense of that one. But let's do a quick lume shot real quick so you can see what this looks like in the dark. No shortage whatsoever. We even have a lumed bezel pearl. Bringing back the QE2. I think you could wear this watch on a 15-centimeter circumference wrist. Again, my wrist 16. You probably know it pretty well unless you're new to the channel. This fits me just fine. Just remember, a 41 Royal Oak wears like a 43 round watch. Okay, speaking of lume shots, why don't we lead with one that is a standout in that regard? You probably already know what it is. So this is the IWC Pilot's Watch Edition Black Aces. VFA 41. This is a United States Navy strike fighter squadron founded back in 1950, and they are the Black Aces, so that is their logo on the dial. This is officially blessed by the Navy, and you can see on the reverse side you have the ace motif surrounding a F-18 strike fighter, FA-18. It is a fighter and it is a bomber, and it has taken on all of the old missions of the A-6 Intruder and the F-14, so it can do everything those did. And it does so in a package that is a twin engine. Originally, it was sort of a light fighter, like an equivalent to an F-16. Over time, it's become much more serious with the EF version known as the Super Hornet or the Rhino. This is a pretty serious watch, too. Very cool. It's called Lumicast. The material is actually a combination of a large amount of superluminova, which can glow for over 23 hours, and then it's set and cured to become a ceramic-like material that sits on a dial blank made of soft iron. So you have a soft iron cage to resist magnetism, you have a screw-down crown, 60-meter water resistant. You know, I said 50 and screw-down is swimmable, so yes, this is swimmable. 41 millimeters in diameter, it's 11.6 thick, it is made of black ceramic, so with a sapphire crystal titanium case back and a black ceramic case, it's actually very light. Although it is broad across the wrist, I'd easily recommend it for a wrist my size. It's 50.6 millimeters from lug to lug, but again, the thinness of it makes it pretty versatile. It is a no-date dial, so keep that in mind if you want to watch with the date, but it does have hacking seconds. Has an IWC manufactured and Volflurier designed 32-100 automatic that is 5-position adjusted and uses a magic lever style bidirectional winding system to energize a 3-day power reserve. So lots to love here. And of course, if you are a fan of naval aviation, Black Aces, they fly off of shore bases in Lemoore, California these days, but they're also attached to Carrier Air Wing 9s. These guys tail hook in a big way. All right, another lume special. This one from Waco and Trilobe. So, have you guessed? This is the Trilobe and Waco co-designed Trilobe Une Folle Soirée. So it is a crazy night, which is a follow-up to their previous crazy day, Une Folle Journée. This is a watch that is in many ways a lot like the MB&F Legacy machines, but much more affordable and much more wearable. So this is grade 5 titanium and sapphire, and thus very light, 40.5 millimeters in diameter. It's reasonably stanced across the wrist at 48 millimeters. So I find that even if your wrist is as small as 14 centimeters circumference, you'll wear this well. And you might be surprised at how well it clears a cuff, since more than half the thickness is that sloped sapphire. It's a very cool watch. The Crazy Night, of course, featuring a large amount of nocturnal blue. Easy to read, too, once you know where to look. There's a little red index down at the bottom. Now you're looking at 9:30. Now you're looking at 10 on the nose. Gauthier Massenot, who had come from the finance world, decided his true passion was, in fact, mechanical watchmaking, so he's a lot like me. I had a stopover in the Navy in between those two things, but I can relate to the guy. Waco, through the Rake and Revolution magazines that he founded, created the Grail watch program, so collaborations with well-known typically independent watch brands, though he does work with some group brands. And this is a 25-piece limited edition announced in 2022. These aren't concentric rings, but you can see they are internal to each other. So 1, 2, 3, and then the base, which features a lovely sort of cobalt blue granular finish, allows you to see more of the Trilobe eccentric module system than you would find on their traditional solid dial Trilobe watches. The module was designed by Jean-Francois Moser, formerly a top complication specialist with IWC. He went on to design an installment of, for example, the Harry Winston Opus series before becoming, like Andreas Streller, a go-to for top-end independents and brands that want complication modules or even entire movements. But the movement itself is actually designed by Le Cirque des Horlogers, which is a company associated with Speak Marin. And you'll find this micro-rotor automatic architecture on Speak Marin, on the new Louis Vuitton Tambour, and of course here. So 48 hours of power reserve, 4 hertz beat rate, 33 joules. You can see it's nicely decorated. Combination of beveling, media blast, satination. There are also some black polished screws snailing on the rotor, beveling and satination on the half bridge for the balance. And you can see 50 meters water resistant with a little duct to remind you. Grail watch, number 21 of 25. A very cool watch. Grade 5 titanium is nice because it doesn't scratch like steel does. It is a bit harder than 316 steel, but it's also light like grade 2. And because this has a huge domed sapphire, this will actually take a lot of the heat. Most of the impacts with surface will be by this. And this, of course, is about 1800 on the Mohs scale. Only diamond can routinely scratch it. Really nice Alcantara strap, Alcantara on the top, leather on the bottom, easy to wear. We'll see it one more time. Trilobe, 40.5 millimeters in diameter, 48 millimeters from lug to lug. Let's take a look at something spectacular and rare on a couple accounts. From François-Paul Journe, this is the octa-powered Quantieme Perpetuelle. 42 millimeters, it is the option case size. So 40 is the base, 42 is the option, all rose gold. It has a blue dial that's blued sterling silver with rose gold hands, date frames, and of course numerals. Now it also features a fully integrated factory bracelet, which is an unusual option because it adds tens of thousands of dollars to the price. And it's rare to see, but it is beautiful and spectacular. And of course, like everything else Journe makes, it just feels like money in the hand. Now the dial features the post-2020 option dial. So just as there are 2 case sizes, there are 2 dial designs. One of them features a roughly kidney or football-shaped steel polished bezel that encircles the center dial. This dial, introduced in 2020, is more open and, in my opinion, more readable, less constrained. Now, we do have a couple setting systems that are interesting. First, Journe wanted everything to be settable without a tool, which I can appreciate on a perpetual calendar. So, day and date by the crown. There is a hideaway lever, which is easier to access if you have more nails than I do, that indexes the month. And then it closes up and fits flush when you don't need it. The movement, Octa 1300.3, is solid gold, rose gold, 18 karat. So with a silver dial, rose gold case, clasp, movement, and bracelet. It is a heavy thing. 5 days of power reserve is the chronometric power reserve, and that's why that is what's on the dial with the power reserve indicator. But when fully wound, it will in fact run for almost 7 days, stopping at 160 hours. Now it is 56.5 millimeters end link to end link if you wear it on the bracelet, and 51.5 if you wear it on a strap, lug to lug. So I'm going to throw it on my wrist so you can see. I could wear this and I would wear this comfortably, but if your wrist is any smaller than mine, you're going to find that there are fit issues. You're either going to want it and buy it and take the bracelet off and put it on a strap, and that would be fine. It would wear on a wrist, in my opinion, of 15 centimeters circumference if it were on a strap. Just put away the bracelet, keep it for posterity and collectible purposes, wear it on a strap. But on the bracelet, you're going to want a wrist my size or larger, 16 centimeters circumference. Now let's say you don't have Journe money, but you want a full bracelet complex calendar. Let's add a moon phase. Let's add a chronograph. This might be the most unexpected watch of today's show. Launched in 2007, this is the Breitling for Bentley Mark 6 Complications 19. So it's named after the Bentley Mark 6, which came out for the post-war era, being the first fully built Bentley car, meaning it was built entirely in-house. It wasn't a chassis with a drivetrain that was then coach-built by an external coach builder. It was body, chassis, drivetrain, all in-house at Crewe by Bentley Rolls-Royce. The other thing, too, is the Mark 6, which was related to the Silver Dawn, was the first all-steel body Bentley. You'd be surprised how late wood was used in frames in car building in England. Now, this is steel in 42 millimeters with the exception of the knurled bezel, which is made of platinum. The watch is a semi-perpetual calendar, so it's a module Breitling has long used that only requires one adjustment when February 29th finally arrives. So, unlike an annual calendar, which requires one adjustment per year, this only requires one adjustment every 1,461 days. So you've got that. You've got the module, including a vertical clutch chronograph, automatic winding, caliber 19's ETA 2892A2 based. So you do get chronometer certification. You do get a 42-hour automatic winding power reserve. Here we have the speed bracelet, which is very similar to the Pilot, but it has different proportioning of the outer links and the center links. You can also see it features a bespoke Breitling for Bentley clasp. This was a very short-lived bracelet. It's uncommon to encounter, and it's upscale in ways that other Breitling bracelets would not be for a long time, including the use of an incremental quick adjustment system inside the clasp. On the reverse, you can see Bentley's Flying B logo, the wings on the B. P is what Breitling calls this combination of steel and platinum. 19 is the movement, 3 means it is chronometer certified, and it is 100 meters water resistant with a screw down crown, so this is a pretty versatile watch. It's big, but it's not huge. At 42 millimeters, unlike a lot of Breitling for Bentleys, this one actually features some of the discretion and restraint for which Bentleys were widely known before the 21st century. There's no shortage of luminescence. I'll bring back the light so you can see it on my wrist and actually get a sense of the fit. There you go, right there. One of the few Breitling for Bentleys that I both could and would wear. Okay, so in 2015, H. Moser, NC, of Schaffhausen, Switzerland, the German-Swiss independent, decided that it needed a sports watch, and it was a sound proposition. So the Pioneer was created initially in gold. Well, not all gold. As you can see here, this Pioneer Center Second features a combination of rose gold and DLC titanium. So it makes for a nice two-tone effect. We have blackened recesses in the case that are coined. We have a media-blasted blackened screw-down crown, so 120 meters water resistant. We have a dial that might be mistaken for the company's signature funky blue, but this is a little bit more muted. This is called midnight blue. It is a smoked or fumé fade. You can see we do have a hacking or stop seconds function, in addition to being automatic, rubber strapped, and 120 meters water resistant. The watch is actually quite nicely and thoroughly loomed. Of course, being Moser, they don't put Swiss made on the dial because Swiss made entails 60% Swiss content, in a manner of speaking. There's a balance of how much work has to be done in Switzerland, how much value is added, how much the materials are made in Switzerland, but Moser cuts to the chase. 90 to 95% of a Moser is Swiss made. So they don't use the Swiss made logo. It is inferior. They simply expect you to know, and those who love the brand do. Now this one features a spectacular, almost iridescent metallized, mottled black and blue perforated rubber strap. I've never seen anything like this from Moser. This must be a new offering, and it is so silky. It is as supple as silicone, almost gummy, wonderfully comfortable. Flip it all over, manufacture caliber HMC 200, bidirectional winding by a magic lever winding system, 3 days of power reserve, 3 hertz beat rate, free sprung with a full bridge for shock resistant, hybrid ceramic bearings, a rotor in tungsten with media blast, snailing, and beveling, double crested Moser Côte de Genève, and then a variable inertia balance with all the timing changes done using the bolts that move into and out of, or I should say the screws that move into and out of this large high inertia balance. Moser, through its precision engineering subsidiary, making parts that even many other manufacturers cannot make, with the balance, the hairspring, and the escapement, all theirs crafted in-house. In terms of how it fits, it's not too big. It is 51.1 millimeters lug to lug, so I'd say a wrist my size or larger is going to wear this really well. And you can see how the lugs wrap around the wrist here and here, mitigating any fit issues that might arise from the broad stance, so no issues whatsoever looking down the barrel from my wrist. All right, we're finishing with a big piece. And by that, I mean a really big piece. One of the few watches I've ever featured here that retails for over $1 million. This is the Patek Philippe 5208R Grand Complication. So traditionally, a Grand Complication is a chronograph, a minute repeater, and a perpetual calendar. and this is all of those. Launched in 2011 in platinum, the rose gold version you see here bowed in 2018. In terms of size, I'm going to give you all of them. 42 in diameter, 52 lug to lug, and then in thickness, 15.2. So it's actually not as thick as it might sound because the concave profile of the bezel and the slope of the case flank, when it's actually on my wrist, we're going to give a good sense of its size. It's an easy watch to wear. Now, if your wrist is smaller than mine, you're probably going to want to go with a smaller Patek Philippe complication. You'll have many options. But the important thing here is this is a whole lot more wearable than Patek Philippe's previous grand complications, which were almost all pocket watches and very rarely wristwatches. This was the first ever series production Patek Philippe grand complication wristwatch. It is also something uncommonly seen anywhere, which is an instantaneous jumping perpetual calendar. So I want to be clear about what that means. You can see the little day-night indicator going from night to day. We're going to roll all the way around, and I'm going to show you what an instantaneous jumping perpetual calendar looks like. It doesn't mean that it jumps exactly at 12 midnight, although it is very close. It's about 30 seconds removed. It means that it jumps instantaneously when it jumps. It is not a rolling or dragging calendar. So now, as we approach, I'm going to slow things down so you can watch the jump. Right there. That is an instantaneous jumping perpetual calendar, and you have to spend huge amounts of money at Patek Philippe to get one of those. Now, another thing that I want to showcase is the minute repeater. I probably could have avoided going all the way around the dial and just stopped where I was before, but if you want to maximum chime a minute repeater, if you want the full send on a minute repeater, you want 12:59, so you get 12 hours, 3 double chimes for the quarters, and then 14 minutes after the final quarter. So I'm going to do my best to hit that on the nose. Okay, let's see if I got it. There you go. And that is the name of the movement. It's a repeater, it's a chronograph. The base movement is 27 millimeters in diameter, though the full movement with the modules is 32. PS means petit second, small second, which you have right there. And then instantaneous perpetual calendar, QI. 48-hour power reserve, a rare automatic winder at Patek Philippe. With this level of complication, they generally go with manual winding. You can see that the balance is Gyromax free sprung, and a bit of a surprise. This is one of the most expensive Patek watches to include a fully amagnetic silicone hairspring. The finishing is world-class. The best elements are the strikers, which are steel, black polished, and then beveled on their edges, though the Côte de Genève, the beveling on the bridges, the quality of the screws, the Grand Dorge cut of the guilloche on the rotor, everything's top-notch here. And the case is beautiful with fully evacuated flying buttress-like lugs. They look like the profile of a Gothic cathedral. Column wheel, lateral clutch chronograph, very crisp to operate, no shortage of tactile feedback, and we have a chronograph minutes display that is up to 60 minutes. I love 60-minute chronograph displays. It has a full clasp. You can see single fold. These are extraordinarily rare and sold only upon approval from a person whose name starts with an S and ends with an N. And in fact, that person has opined that the best-sounding Patek Philippe minute repeaters are the rose gold Patek Philippe minute repeaters. If you love this or any of our watches, or you just want to talk price and inquire, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com.